What's up, y'all? I just want to say, I feel as humans, not just as Americans, not just as whatever, as humans in general, we've gotten very reactive. Very reactive. Like somebody pokes you and you explode, and it's a lot of it is from external conditions. They, all the division tactics, all the things that they impose on us to try to keep us agitated and in fear, fight or flight and states of fear and all that, to keep your vibration lower and to make sure that you're not living up to your full potential because you're in survival mode. A lot of this stuff, obviously fabricated conditions and things, but I think it's important to remember, and I'm speaking of myself because I know I've gotten reactive too, and I always say respond, don't react, because when you react, you make irrational decisions versus responding and coming at things logically and rationally, right? So, it's like this. I think it's important to remember to have compassion and understanding and be able to paradigm shift, because all of us fall short. All of us make mistakes. Most of the mistakes I'm ready to crucify somebody else for are mistakes that I've made myself, and I've made a lot of damn mistakes, and thank you, only by the grace of God and by people giving me a chance am I here today through those mistakes, right? Like wiser and not gonna make those mistakes again because I learned from the lesson. Doesn't mean there's not reactions or not reactions. Doesn't mean there's not consequences to those actions, but it just means that you don't have to take it all the way to freaking max to make a point. You know what I mean? And I think the conditions, if we understand that we're all in the same boat and that we're all being hit with these, same situations and conditions and, all the same, a lot of the same struggles a lot of us are going through, and yet we're willing to tear each other down because the stress in our own lives and the things going on within ourselves, right? But if you just look back at your life and the mistakes you've made, I'm sure you'll find that you've had some grace in the errors of your ways. And all I'm saying is we need to extend that same grace to others that wrong us if we're going to make it out of this. Because if we just keep eye for an eye, eye for an eye till the whole world blind, right? We can keep tearing each other down and, you feel good for a minute, but it doesn't accomplish anything, versus understanding that that person's probably, under a lot of pressure too. And I'm speaking to myself because I've got bad anger problems, man. And this is something that I'm trying to hold myself accountable for, but willing to extend that grace and realize that we all fall short. We all have different ways of dealing with stress. And, when you get in survival mode, you do irrational things. And all I'm saying is, if we're going to make it out of this slump and strengthen our country and strengthen our world and get back to, the people over these systems of control, we've got to be able to paradigm shift into each other's shoes and understand, like I said, it doesn't mean that there's not consequences. It just means you don't have to go to the max. You know what I mean? Have a little grace, have a little understanding and compassion for your fellow man and the things that they're going through, because they're probably going through the same type of struggles and challenges that you are. And just because you may be able to handle them better than some doesn't mean that you're above and beyond. You know what I mean? You got to be able to understand that everybody's at different levels and extend a little bit of that same grace that you've gotten in your life. Much love, y'all. Remember, we're those that endure the darkness yet chose to shine. Heaven's Heathen out.